Haven't had many videos today. It's getting near the end of the evening or the day. We've been driving all day. We drove from Amsterdam to Berlin, and ironically, Kim's been here before. She lived here for years, and she says West Berlin's really changed. There's graffiti everywhere, and strangely enough, when you cross the wall, what's remaining of it. In East Berlin, it's a lot better. You'd think it'd be the other way around. This is our room for the day. It's actually pretty big. And even though this is a hostel, we get our own bathroom, so that's nice. I don't know if we're going to be doing any sightseeing today because it's raining. And it's, I guess, about 5 o'clock. But if we do, we'll make sure to film it. Bye! We were watching some of the videos I've made, and Kim realized that I'm looking at the screen instead of the camera because I'm so vain. We just finished eating dinner at our hostel. I'm going to show you some what the accommodations look like, and we're going to walk a little bit around Berlin before we turn in for the night because we both slept pretty good on the bus. All right, well, I'll be turning you back on again soon. This is a former school. This hostel is huge, and they have big rooms like this, which I assume was the former music school or class. And now it's a common room. People come here when they're traveling or if they're going to the universities. We've already met some university students. And this is the girls' wing, I think. They keep them separate for the most part. And look, there's a little sitting area and a TV there. Isn't that nice? I just hurt myself getting this shot for you guys. This is, we're on the 3rd floor. It's 4 floors. We're actually, our room's on the 4th. And this is looking down into what was once like a courtyard for the school. Now people use it to hang out. Here we go. Sweet dreams are made of these. Who am I to disagree? I traveled the world and the 7 seas. Everybody's looking for something. It's all into it. I'll tell you where we're going to go in just a minute. This is the outside of the hostel. It's really big. Kim, tell us where we're going.
We are about to go to the Berlin Wall and touch it.
It's right near where we're staying. How
walking distance.
Convenient.
We are
in former East Berlin, and we don't know what this building is, but it's really fancy.
And former East Berlin is so much nicer than former East Berlin is nicer than former just West Berlin.
Isn't that weird?
Yeah. West Berlin is now full of graffiti.
Yes, all of their
Personal
statues
art.
and everything.
Everything. So don't be surprised when you go, when you see it tomorrow.
When we see it tomorrow, yep. We are almost at the wall, but we found this. It is a train station. This is a working train. Look at how pretty the architecture is.
I wish I had my camera.
Yes. We even stopped at the hotel.
I know, but I didn't.
Here is a view of the wall, the edge of the wall that's left. The sun coming out. Come, Kimberly, we're almost there.
Going up to the largest part of the last East Berlin Wall.
Here it is.
It's
the east side. As you see, it keeps going. And now I'm going to touch it. I'm touching it. And so is Kim. And Kim was here long ago when the wall was still up.
Here. Yep. Change of history. part of the mural.
Oh, thank you. I almost got ran over by a bike. People don't play on those things in Europe.
You weren't looking, huh?
I was, but I was trying to get across, so I didn't know what side that thing was on. Huh?
Did you take a little one?
Oh, sure. Now we're on the west side of the wall. See how easy it is to do now. And we're about to go down to the water. I wish I knew what river this was. What's it called? You don't know? Kim doesn't remember.
I was a kid.
That's okay. I didn't say it was bad that you didn't remember.
There's a message.
I'm not looking at that message camera. It's not a nice one. But the wall's right there. And here's the river. So if they got past the wall, they'd have to get past the river too. Not an easy task. There's a much better view of that train bridge. And this is actually a hostel. There's a boat here. Isn't that cool? I told Kim I wanted to stay in it. I don't think she does. See, I told you it was a train. It's a train that goes over a bridge. Europe's all about the public transportation.
Yeah, they are.
Just walking around, and look what we found.
I'm telling you, this side of town is so much cleaner. Don't know where we are. Can't find the hostel.
Yeah, the hostel's that way. Oh goodness, it's wet. I thought it was just shiny ceramic, but it's wet.
Mandy's walking on the water.
I am. Look. Ooh. Splash, splash. And it goes on. There's another one in there. Do you think this was part of the school? Because it's attached.
I don't know. I don't know what it was. I would say they should put, this was formerly a whatever, but it would be in German.
It is, actually I have no idea what day it is anymore. We're here in Berlin and we just got off the train in the central station here, Hauptbahnhof, and it is really big. I will be showing you the sights here in Berlin today. Still the train station here. If you look, there's trains below, there's trains above, they're just everywhere. This is the Brandenburg Gate we are walking to.
You're not facing the stylish.
Yeah. Years, it was actually turned into a unified United 1990 is when East Germany and West Germany disputed, and just one Germany was formed. So before then, the square was
About to touch the Brandenburg Gate. Couldn't do it because the wall was in between it.
And now Kim finally can. She saw it before, couldn't touch it. I almost fell. You see another landmark way in the distance. I can't focus that much. It makes it all wobbly. Little stone here apparently lines the city where the wall used to be. Here's a park in Berlin, right outside the Brandenburg Gate. Or inside, I should say.
the right side. This is where the German parliament is seated. Then Deutschen Volk just means for the German people. This was built in 1894. The architect's a guy called Paul Vallet. Massively damaged both by during the second. This is very, very important symbolically for the Soviet soldiers to capture. Around 5,000 soldiers died in the battle for this single building alone. So as you can imagine, it got pretty sort of torn up by artillery fire, etc. It had already been burned down in a fire in 1933. And due to all of this damage, it was in quite a bad state of repair, and it didn't get used actually for a very long time. In fact, it's only been used very recently. It's only been used since 1999. And reason being, when Germany was divided, we'll go into a bit more when we see the Berlin Wall about the division of Germany post Second World War. But the building is, you remember when we crossed that road, I said the Berlin Wall was in the road? That means we literally just stepped into West Berlin. So this building is also in West Berlin, and the West German government, when Germany was divided, were not based in Berlin at all. They were based far away in a town called Bonn in West Germany. So this building simply didn't get used for a very long time. Germany was reunified. There was a lot of discussion. Not only do you get a nice view of the city, but it's also possible once you're at the top of the dome to actually look, if you just look down, you see this big room full of chairs. You might see some politicians working. It's like the debating chamber of parliament. The idea being the Jewish victims of the Holocaust. The name of the memorial is actually the memorial dedicated to the murdered Jews of Europe. There are other memorials in Berlin dedicated to those other groups of people who have also murdered. There's one dedicated to the homosexuals just in the park over there. If you come back here later, you might want to see that. This is by far the largest memorial in Berlin because the Jewish people were, of course, the largest group who were persecuted during the Third Reich. 6 million Jews were murdered, in fact, during just those few short years. And so this is dedicated specifically to those 6 million Jews.
Okay, we're walking on the Jewish Memorial here, and there are 2,711 of these blocks, different sizes. Yes, thank you, Kim. Kim knows that I've fallen like 20 times on this trip already.
I'll meet you.
Okay. Okay, you're fine.
Mày con nghe. Cái này đây how much đủ mà mày.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
Can I take a picture?
Okay, yeah. The monument we just walked through is supposed to make you feel also isolated and disconnected, and it really does. But he never was specific about what the big blocks were supposed to symbolize.
Of the Reich Chancellery of Hitler was, completely demolished, the Chancellery, by the Soviets upon arriving in Berlin, and this is all that remains of it. So, kind of weird. So I would actually go this on top of Hitler's bunker.
That's actually
His own personal bunker, which is called the so-called Führer bunker. Okay, very important, this place, because this is pretty much where the Third Reich all came to an end. This is where the entire regime came collapsing down, because it is where Hitler spent the final few months of his life, from January until his committing suicide on April the 30th, 1945. And he did that in the bunker underneath our feet right now. Kind of weird that it's just a car park, like you could easily come here and not know anything about it. A couple of reasons for that, I'll tell you in a moment. First of all, the reason for why the bunker was here. That big bit of stone over there, remember I said was Hitler's Reich Chancellery, that actually used to face a road called Vossstrasse. It's on the corner with a road called Wilhelmstrasse and Vossstrasse. Basically this was kind of like the Nazi government district where we are now. All of these buildings here were only built in the 1970s. These are just apartment buildings. But yeah, back then, you know, this area looked very, very different indeed. So the right chancellery used to face the road down there where we're going to walk down shortly. That means we are standing in the former ministry gardens. So the ministry gardens of that right chancellery. Made sense for the bunker to be here because there was an entrance going down from the chancellery all the way down into the bunker. Yeah, like I said, he arrived in January. I mean,
So this parking lot right here is where Hitler's bunker used to be and where he died. Amazing. Look here, here's a wall still covered in shrapnel from the Second World War.
I'll show you about this photo in just a sec. Before that, this building here, this is one of the only remaining Nazi government buildings still standing in Berlin, which is completely and utterly intact. Okay, this was actually built in 1936, this building, shortly after the Nazi Party came to power in 1933. This was the Ministry for Aviation, basically, for air transportation. Really was headquarters for the Luftwaffe, German Air Force during the Third Reich. This is where the bombing raids that were conducted all over Europe, this is where they were conceived, inside this building. Hermann Göring, who was the head of the Luftwaffe, this is where he'd come to work. Okay, this is where he had his offices, absolutely gigantic. And it takes up like an entire block. Again, Nazi architecture, it's all about giving this displaying. How communism was supposed to be. So everybody working together in perfect harmony. In particular, quite funny is the guy in the suit there. This guy in the suit could be interpreted as a man called Walter Ulbricht, who was the leader of East Germany. Actually, when that uprising happened, Walter Ulbricht was the leader of East Germany. Here we can actually see him shaking hands with one of those blue-collar workers, who 1 year later, after this mural was added, he had brutally put down by the military. So this is not really very accurate, I suppose. It's quite it's complete hypocrisy. So actually that photo out there is actually, funnily enough, the very same shape and size as this mural. That was added out there in the 1990s. So it's like, you know, the truth out there in stark contrast to the kind of the propaganda on this mural. Like I said, it did survive entirely. I mean, it looks basically exactly as it did when it was built in 1936. All they did was to remove some.
Here's another part of the Berlin Wall.
Berlin Wall, this thing here. This is like the real thing, just completely left where it was, basically, when it was still standing. It's all damaged now, you can see it's full of holes and stuff. I'm sure you've seen all these famous pictures that night the wall came down. You know, people running out, they've got the biggest hammer, pickaxe they can find, just eager to physically tear holes in this thing as soon as they are allowed to do so, so you can still see remnants of that. But it's a real thing. This was built in 1961, Berlin Wall. It was built because You know, do you remember that photo back there? Remember how those people look? A lot of people living in East Germany. They don't like it very much. Yeah? For some people who didn't like living in East Germany, all they had to do was just leave. Just go to West Germany. It's a simple case of crossing the border to West Germany. Say a simple case, I mean, you know, you'd have to start your life anew, of course. You'd have to leave your possessions, belongings, maybe friends and family won't be coming along. But nonetheless, many people decided that the best thing to do was to just pack up and leave, just get the hell out of here, just start a new life in West Germany. Things became a bit more difficult to do that starting in 1952, and that's because in 1952 the Soviet Union built a border called the Inner German Border, which divided East and West Germany. So not in Berlin, but this is a border literally running down the centre of Germany, dividing East Germany with West Germany. What that meant was it became a bit more difficult for people to basically cross to West Germany, because you couldn't just very simply cross the border directly into West Germany anymore. So that happened from 1952. And despite that, you know, there was still a way out for people. There was still a way you could get out of East Germany if you're a little bit clever. That way out was, of course, Berlin. Because as we know, Berlin is just smack bang in the middle of East Germany. Yeah? That means you could come from anywhere in East Germany into East Berlin. Once you're in East Berlin, there was simply no physical border running through the city for a very long time. What that meant was, you know, people, for example, lived on one side, they worked on the other side, they lived on one side, they had friends and family living on the other side. And if you wanted to escape East Germany, you just come to Berlin. You come to Berlin, you cross the road, like to that side of the road, you're now in West Berlin. What that meant was, because you were in West Berlin, you were legally in West Germany,
There was actually two walls, this one of course, and there was one where this cobblestone path is. In between is something known as the death strip. There's all kinds of booby traps, I guess, in between to make sure people couldn't come or cross. This is one of the narrower areas of the two walls, and apparently someone that worked in this building cleverly decided to zip line across. There's West Berlin right over there.
Formed part of the wall, where it was possible for people with the correct kind of authorization to be able to cross the border between East and West Berlin. Okay, Checkpoint Charlie was one of those. This was used by lots of people who were, well, basically from anywhere except Berlin or except Germany. For example, used by a lot of Americans, because on the other side of the road was the American sector of West Berlin, so lots of US officials and diplomats could come here to cross the border. And tourists could even come here to visit, get on a tour bus to visit East Berlin for the day. That was also possible. Now, Checkpoint Charlie is definitely the most famous of the checkpoints, obviously. You know, a lot of us have heard of Checkpoint Charlie, despite the fact it was one of many. Now, what about, like, Checkpoint, there was a Checkpoint Alpha, there was a Checkpoint Bravo, why don't they get remembered? The reason is Checkpoint Charlie was the only checkpoint sort of in the middle of Berlin, which divided East and West Berlin, which intersected between the Soviet zone of East Berlin and specifically the American zone of West Berlin. And the reason, you know, considering these were the two superpowers during the Cold War, like Checkpoint Charlie often gets described as something kind of like the front line of the Cold War. Because this is where these two superpowers, you know, these two ideologies which divided all of Europe, this is where they just sort of came together and just sort of collided face on, like literally on opposite sides of the road. This is kind of where Soviet Communist East just sort of faced off against American capitalist West over there. That is the road we just walked from when we walked from the Berlin Wall. So as you can see, this is Checkpoint Charlie here, and this is when, well, they're tanks, aren't they? Just facing off. Right here in the middle of Berlin, American tanks, Soviet tanks. Very, very dangerous time for the time that this lasted. It was triggered by basically it had been agreed when the division of Berlin was worked out, it had been agreed that US allied officials, diplomats should be allowed free, unhindered access across the entire city. That included also the Soviet zone. Despite that, after the Berlin Wall was built, this happened a couple of months later in October 1961. A US diplomat was on his way into East Berlin via Checkpoint Charlie. He was actually simply going to the opera in East Berlin. Now, should have brought his passport, did not have any identification. This diplomat simply assumed that being in full sort of American military garb, being driven, chauffeured in a US car, that he should be allowed to pass through the border. The border guard on duty that time refused entry to this US diplomat. Now, in responding to this, there was an American general stationed in Berlin at that time, General Lucius Clay, who was here acting on behalf of President Kennedy. And yeah, in responding to this, he was of the opinion, General Lucius Clay, that the only way to sort of deal with the Soviets, with the Russians, the only thing they sort of understood was a display of force. You know, and General Lucius Clay saw this as a breach of agreements and a breach on his personal authority, which he decided to respond by sending 10 American tanks to that side of the road, facing into the Soviet zone this side. Yeah, interesting. Very brave, very stupid side. Because the Soviets responded in kind. They sent exactly the same number of tanks. They sent 10 of their own tanks to this side of the road, facing that way. And that's where they just sat for like 16 hours, just sitting there, sort of tank barrel to tank barrel on opposite sides of this road. Can you imagine if something went down? Can you imagine if one dude in a tank just decided to open fire, or if a guard got a bit nervous and discharged his weapon? Like, could have very, very easily escalated into a full-blown Third World War.
I just got the end of this thing, guys. I hope you saw it. There's a bunch of people biking in the circle. It was really weird. Huh? Yeah. It's kind of funny. Here's yes. Somebody did this mural as part of the wall. Here's another one coming up. Fish. Checkpoint Charlie a second ago, and this is the other side. Where a Russian soldier is facing. Oh. U.S. checkpoint. We are currently in the Jewish Museum here in Berlin.
Excuse me?
And they are allowing us to both videotape and take pictures. A lot of places won't. Like, I couldn't do it in the Anne Frank house. So if I see anything interesting, I'll make sure to show it.
When you look at the building, what did you expect to see? Something else? Something strange? Something nice? Something like that? When you look at the building itself from outside, when you left the bus. Yeah.
There's some objects that some people are allowed to take with them abroad. Most of the things in this museum are personal items and personal stories. People that experience persecution here. That last room you just saw was, I guess, supposed to give you a feeling of isolation. They don't make sure it's quiet in there. They make sure that they don't heat or cool. The walls feel cold. Very oppressive. You feel very oppressed in there.
Okay, well, in that room, it's like when they don't know what's going to happen. They're stuck in there, it's cold, it's dark. They don't know if they're going to get gassed or burned with water or stuck in there to die, you know?
Yeah.
And there's like a light, that's like hope, but there was no light and there were concentration camps.
Yes. This is one of the gardens in the museum. It's made on a slant, and you're supposed to feel disoriented walking through it. This is what the museum looks like on the outside. It's all ziggy-zaggy. This right here is how you spell my name in Hebrew. Yay! Pomegranate tree. Meow. Let's make pomegranates. I've written a wish on my pomegranate. Now I'm going to hang it in the tree. I've written a wish on my pomegranate and now I hang it in the tree. There you go. There you go. Sorry. Go ahead. Did you hang a pomegranate? I did. Good job. There's Superman up there. Kim wants to point out that the Superman is at the top and the Batman is down below. That's because Batman's not afraid, like climbing the gutter. Ooh. These are wedding rings. Fancy!
après, j'y vais sur la fin, machin.
You may be wondering what a Christmas tree is doing in a Jewish museum. Apparently, it was explained that it was considered a German holiday, not necessarily a religious holiday, so they would do Hanukkah and Christmas. I would like to point out that we've been in this museum for a long time, and Kim has been a trooper, and she got bored really quick.
Yeah, right after the first floor.
She's a good friend. That was nice. Big. They have another tree in this museum where you write what equal rights means to you and hang it on a tree. I wrote this. Kim says a very democratic statement. I said, that's any decent person's statement. And she said, that's what I said.
Hey, did you get mine?
Where's yours?
I don't know.
Somebody wrote scribbles.
That's mine.
That's not me being
No,
like,
that's not me.
That's just when someone writing scribbles.
Let me see. That's not me.
Kim doesn't know what she hungers.
Oh, here's my ring.
Here's Kim. Nice. But she doesn't respect my differences.
She just doesn't understand where it's coming from. We've had this conversation.
Cool. Oh, neat. Look. You turn and it'll talk about the different flags. USA. USA. Preferred country of destination. Oh, this is about the immigration of Jews. Yeah, who wouldn't prefer?
Because look at this.
Who wouldn't prefer?
Watch this.
Okay, watch it.
Kind of sounds like that. Looks like a bomb.
It goes like a bomb. She's so bored, she's just making her own fun now.
This is board games. Come on.
Mom, you warned Kim to look out for me because I can be a bit absent-minded. She just saved my book bag. I had to check it at the museum and I almost left without it. Good job, Kimberly.
I'm here for you.
Kim thinks she remembers shopping here long ago.
It was always a large square. In the department stores, that's like where my mom would buy her Christmas.
There's a fountain over here. Do you recognize it? We found the spire. It took us some work. Look at all the buildings. We just stumbled upon this. And all the fountains. There's another tower behind there. Trees. Never in the States could you just be wandering around town and run into something like this.
That's my sister.
It's magnificent. I'll give you a better view in a minute. In the distance, I get these buses out of the way. Look at that!
Communists in their circles. Their circles.
I officially love Berlin. I wasn't sold at first, but I would spend all my time down here. Found another fountain. Everybody knows I love water. And the funny thing is, all the buildings and spires and stuff that you've been seeing, the last few ones, have all been in the same spot.
Take a picture of me, and then we can walk up there. Look.
Okay.
Walk on the.
This is between the columns in that beautiful church. I am rather frustrated because I'm not going to be able to have time to go inside. Me and Kim have already bought tickets to go in the spire, and it's going to make it so that we're too late to come here. It's going to be closed. Had anyone told me that this was the place to be, this is where I would have spent all day. So, if you're ever in Berlin, find the big spire and hang out around there. Because this is the place to be. Look at all the detail. We are currently waiting to go up. We got a ticket to go up the spire, and so that's pretty neat. You get a 360 view of Berlin. But every place we go, Kim keeps telling me this is on the east side and this is on the west side, and it's amazing to me because it all flows together so seamlessly. I can't imagine a wall dividing this city up. And these people up for such a long time. It's not. I thought you'd get here and I would say this is obviously East Berlin and this is obviously West Berlin. You can't tell. You really can't. Really interesting and really impressive. We just went up the elevator to the top of the spire, and my ears are popping because it's so high. And you guys gotta see this. There's the top of that building. There. And there's that church I like so much. that fountain? Hold on 1 second. Way over there is Parliament. We saw that earlier today. Fortunately, I never got to see this particular building. I'm curious as to what it is, though. It's really pretty. If I can find it, it's hard to do zoomed up. Here's another pretty one.
I don't know if it's going to work with the lighting.
Mama. Here's this big shopping square we were at earlier. And there's the fountain.
Und ein Weg. Und ein Haus. Ja. Papa, ist das hier vorne mit einem runden Dach?
I don't know if these buildings are coming across as massive to you guys as it is to me up here. This one's huge. I saw this up here. I'd like to know what that is. It's like it used to be something and most of it's gone now.
Yeah. I never realized it. But in Germany, they love their courtyards.
Yeah.
They like to protect their privacy.
Yeah, they sure do. And they keep some of the area, you know, for nature. Oh, this is where we're heading next. And this is where Kim really wanted to go.
I've been waiting all day.
And you have graffiti all behind you as your background.
That's right. That's how we do in Berlin.
Okay, so here we go. I'll get you another picture when we get close. I found the elusive German bunny.
That means there's a good balance. City and nature.
It's a Berlin bunny.
Make that up. Let me get over here. Am I in your way?
Oh, you're fine.
I'm in the. Oh, I need that.
You're fine. I'm way up high. I promise. The other way across this thing, so we ran it. It was terrifying. terrifying.
It sure was. That was so scary.
I screamed the whole way across. Video. Oh, isn't she lovely? Hi, we just got to this monument up close and we didn't know until we got up here that this has seen a little bit of action. If you look, pieces of it are missing. A couple of heads there. And there's a lot of bullet holes. You see some more shrapnel marks over here. Still is very beautiful. You wouldn't know from far away what it's gone through. Yeah, there's Kimberly. I have no idea if this is going to show up right on a video, but we're walking past this wall and it lights up as you walk past with a silhouette of yourself. Huh?
You go.
Okay, I'm going to go. Watch as I walk. See? As I walk past it, it lights up. I'm speedy quick. This is so cool. Whoosh. I waved in front of it. See, it lit up. There's Kimberly's light. Whee. I know. Choom. I'm going to join the Justice League.
Jubilee. What kind of craziness is this? 140 euro? That's like 3 times as much in America.
It's true.
Ridiculous.
And they keep telling us that their gas costs more, so why are we complaining?
Liar.
We're complaining because it doesn't cost more.
Liar.
We theorize that this gas station is from Exxon because it's got the same colors. It's called Esso.
Eso.
Esso.
Uh-huh.
And we'd like to know why they're charging us so much more in America. Is it because these guys use public transit, so they're not going to pay it? How convenient.
How convenient.
We made it back all by ourselves.
Yes, we did.
And we're soaked head to toe.
Head to toe.
But at least it didn't rain while we were having a good time.
True.
Yep.
That was good.
So we will see you again tomorrow when we're going to Prague.
Prague.